In the MLB, there is a massive population of players originating from outside of the United States. As a result, our group decided to develop a web application that visualizes the number of players based on their country of birth to accurately see the diversity of players in the MLB. The main feature of this application is to display a choropleth map of the world with various colors that depend on the number of players born in our country. In the global map, users can click on a colored country and it will display the country's name and the number of players born in that country. Additionally, there is an educational purpose as users can also learn more about players with a search function embedded in our application. Users can search for a specific player and the user can view the player's general information displayed above the player's country of origin. If the search player has an unknown country of birth, the player's general information will be displayed below the world map. If the user clicks on the United States, a new web page will appear that displays a choropleth map of the United States with the same colors as a global choropleth map that depends on the number of players born in a state. Similar to the global map, users can click on a colored state and it will display the state's name and the number of players born in that state. Thus, users can search for a specific US-born player and the user can view the player's general information displayed above the player's state of birth. However, an error message will appear if the user decides to search for a player born outside of the United States on the web page that displays the map of the United States. The message will state that this player is born outside of the United States and will prompt the user to return to the page that displays the global map.
Here is our ER diagram for a project on MLB players and their place of birth, country of birth. We have 3 entities and 2 relationships. Our focus is the player entity and it has 7 attributes. The primary key of the player is the player ID. Then we have a position attribute which is stored in array type because players can play many positions or could have switched positions throughout their careers. Another attribute that is of array type is the college university attribute because players could have played at multiple universities, or it could also be no because some players went from high school straight to the MLB. Then of course we have the name attribute or total World Series attribute if the player has ever won the championship, a debut year for whenever they started playing in the MLB, and a final year when they retired if it applies to them, of course. Now players have a relationship of plays with the team entity. This relationship is many to many because players can play for multiple teams throughout their career and teams can have multiple players play for them. Now the plays relationship has 3 attributes. The most obvious ones are the start and end dates to show when a player started to play with the team and when they stopped to play with that team. We also decided to add an attribute of World Series 1 to indicate if the player has won championship with a specific team. Moving on to the team entity, it has 3 attributes. The primary key of the team is the team ID because every team is registered with the MLB and it has an ID. Then the name of the team is an attribute as well as the league because there are 2 leagues in the MLB, the American and National League, and we want to display which league each team plays within. Going back to the player entity, it also has another relationship of born with the country entity. This relationship is one to many because players can only be born in one country, which is common sense, and a country can have multiple players be born within that same country. The born relationship has 3 basic attributes: the month, day, and year the player was born. Lastly, we have the country entity, which has 4 attributes, one being the primary key of country ID. Then we have to have an attribute for the name of the country they were born in, and same goes to the state and city attributes of that country. And that is all for our ER diagram.
To develop this application, our group will be using PostgreSQL, Java, and HTML. PostgreSQL will be our primary database management system. Our group will be programming with Java to not only directly access our selected PostgreSQL database, but also construct the backend services of our application, such as searching for players and retrieving the number of players born in a country or state. Our group will also use HTML to design the user interface of our application to assist the user in interacting with our application. In addition to the software development, our group will continuously conduct user testing based on our list of functional requirements to ensure the correctness of our application.